Welcome to Tying Telco Together. It's a program where we dive into successful transformational stories from service providers all around the world. This week, we're talking to Dr. Sadayuki Abeta, who is a VP and head of RAN at NTT Docomo, as well as Sachin Kadi, our own advisor for Telco strategy at Vmware. And he also is the co-chair of the Technical Steering Committee at the O-RAN Alliance. Welcome to you both. Today, we'll get into a deep dive around the industry's hottest topic. You guessed it, it's all about Open RAN. And we've been transforming the core for years. So now we're looking at applying cloud technologies like virtualization to disaggregate and remove network silos, and introducing cloud-native technologies to create DevOps agility and multi-vendor automation to simplify and empower customer innovation. We're now applying these learnings to the RAN, and there's a lot to cover here, so let's just jump in. Dr. Abeta, we're very thrilled to be a part of your new 5G Open RAN ecosystem initiative at NTT. Why don't you start by describing what the lab is all about and what you're hoping to accomplish with it?
So, Docomo launched the 5G service last year. RAN is fully multi-vendor interoperable RAN using the O-RAN interface. So we use a different ORU, ODU in the same area. So our network is ready to introduce new technologies such as VLAN to provide more attractive 5G services. VLAN is a potential technology which we enhance and improve the network. However, there are some challenges to introduce commercial network, such as high performance, multi-vendor interoperability, most cost effectiveness. To solve those challenges, we establish Open RAN ecosystem. So this Open RAN ecosystem is not focusing to deploy our network, but also to deliver other operators' network. So our testbed is remotely controlled from the other operators. So sharing a testbed, we can drastically reduce the test cost and save the time. That is our motivation to establish this O-RAN ecosystem.
Sachin, while the industry at large is moving towards O-RAN, the NTT program is pretty unique. While I appreciate every journey that our O-RAN initiative may be different, can you speak in general terms to how most CSPs are aligning to O-RAN and highlight some of your impressions of the effectiveness of NTT's unique approach?
Thank you, Stephen. Great to be here, and great to be here with Abeta-san. Abeta-san and NTT Docomo have been pioneers in this Open RAN space. They were one of the very first operators to deploy what's called radio front haul with the RU from a different vendor and getting the rest of the RAN software from a different vendor. And what they are now doing with the lab is really what the whole ecosystem needs to accelerate Open RAN deployment. So as Abeta-san was describing, Open RAN is all about choice. It's all about innovation. It's all about flexibility. And that flexibility comes from being able to use cloud native deployment models, being able to mix and match vendors for different components, as well as being able to mix and match hardware as hardware evolves and you get better hardware, whether it's at the radio or at the server. But all of this choice, all of this flexibility, all of this innovation comes at the challenge that you need to figure out how to integrate everything together and make sure that it actually delivers a reliable 5G high quality service that consumers are beginning to expect and rather frankly are going to demand from the operator. So I think NTT's approach here is really groundbreaking because they're essentially building a lab and operating it as a service for all of the operators so that they can come and mix and match things together, make sure it actually works, use it as a staging ground before they graduate it to a deployment in their networks.
That's really incredible progress. I mean, I understand 5G Open RAN ecosystem, it already has about 13 companies involved, and it's making it easier, obviously, for smaller service providers who maybe can't typically afford this type of lab initiative to prepare for an O-RAN deployment. I have to say, one of the reasons why I love being at Vmware is that we have started to see this trend over the past few years, and what was at one point very closed, siloed industry, now becoming more interactive and much, much more open. And it's exciting to see the benefits which come from that shift. Now, Dr. Abeta, When will the lab be functional, and what activities will be under your lab's purview?
Thank you. So, lab will be available this summer, and the partner will provide their product 3/4 to 4/4 based on the latest chipset or latest their product. So, we have enough experience of that the multi-vendor interoperability test from 4G era actually. So we do the end-to-end performance test assuming the mobile environment and heavy loaded case such as the Tokyo metropolitan area. You may know that in the Shinjuku area, 3 million or 4 million people are moving in the day. Of course, that currently that due to the COVID-19 that less people is moving, but usually that so many people is that are moving in Tokyo metropolitan area. So we assume that such a heavy loaded case, we have some equipment for to do such kind of a test. So under the various type of the environment, we assume we will test the performance, including the throughput, mobility, stability, of course, interoperability. So we do that many tests based on that. Different type of deployment scenario with the partner's product.
Sachin, this lab is one of the several that we're involved with at VMware to help Open RAN and help open up communications in general. Can you speak to a few of the other initiatives that we're involved in and highlight the progress that's being made?
Definitely. I think, as Abhita-san mentioned, the lab, one of the problems they are trying to solve, which is super important, is how does Open RAN actually perform in real-world scenarios and give people an opportunity to evaluate that. And we've been down that same road. We are trying to accomplish the same in other geographies. So I would, of course, highlight the deployment we are doing in Dish. It's no longer a lab effort. It's actually a real world deployment. It'll be an ORAN compliant network, 5G cloud native network. And we are going through the paces of actually putting together systems that are ORAN compliant together and lighting it up in the real world. And we will soon in the US see commercial networks carrying live 5G traffic in an ORAN compliant architecture. That is going to be a major milestone and a proof point for both the viability as well as the superiority of such an architecture. And I'm really looking forward to seeing that in practice.
That's all really important progress, and thanks for the update. You know, the RAN is a highly complex part of the network, so disaggregating it and opening it up is no easy feat. And I know VMware has built up an incredibly experienced team of RAN experts to help guide this transformation and overcome these hurdles. And Dr. Abeta, what are some of the challenges that you've experienced at NTT, and how have you overcome some of those challenges?
We are the first operator to introduce that multi-vendor RAN with online interface last year. This is that we just defined that 2 years ago, so brand new interfaces. So the similar to 3GPP interface, the interpretation of the specification is sometimes different from the vendors. So the first test is that they say that I'm perfect, you were wrong. So we a little bit time to fix that issue, especially the new things. But we have now 2 years experience. So I think the specification itself is already stable, and there are not so much gaps between the vendors. Actually, we selected the new vendors, RU vendors, this February to support the new frequency band. So thanks to the common open interface, we selected best vendors for each deployment scenario. So we can extend it, this approach to VLAN to support various types of deployment scenario.
Sachin, with your role in the ORAN Alliance, I'm sure you have your finger on the pulse of the community related to this topic. Can you speak to some of the challenges in the industry that you're working on to overcome, and how you address this so far as you're making progress resolving that?
Yeah, and I think one of the main challenges, there's many things that are being brought up as potential showstoppers for Open RAN, right? And so there are things like integration And NTT is paving a groundbreaking path here to actually solve that problem and actually show that integration can be handled in a scalable manner, and Open RAN systems can be deployed much more easily than a traditional system. Other issues that people often bring up are around performance and security, right? And I think if we can show the performance of a system in the Tokyo metropolitan area, I can't imagine a more congested, more challenging scenario that an Open RAN system will probably encounter, right? So as Abhita-san was saying, Shinjuku is potentially a nightmare for any RAN planner. And if we can show how well it performs there, that will be a home run. There's another concern that's often brought up around security, and we are spending a lot of time in the ORAN Alliance as well as with all the operators around addressing the security problem that people bring up. And I think really make sure that the Open RAN system, the open interfaces, the implementations are auditable, are introspectable, and really kind of message home that being open, being auditable like this means that you can catch any security problems quickly, fix them. Unlike a closed system where security is built by obscurity, you just have to trust someone to get it right, but it's never possible to actually audit and inspect it. So I think on 3 dimensions, integration, performance, and security, we are making tremendous progress in the community to address all of the concerns that are being brought up.
Quite disruptive, indeed. I don't recall who said it, but this quote comes to mind. The struggle you're in today is developing the strength you need for tomorrow. And that seems quite relevant in this case. Now, Dr. Abeda, since Open RAN will soon be your strength, what are your plans to expand the 5G Open RAN ecosystem activities and your RAN transformation plan at large?
Our Open RAN ecosystem is not just integrating the partner product. So this ecosystem brings the fusion of the partner, maximizing a company's strengths. So other partners such as Vmware, we have much experience of not only the communication area but also the IT area, and the other partner also has the different experience of the different area. So the partnership, as mentioned, that not just integrated the system. So we believe that we can maximize their experience working together with them. So and we can provide the new experience or new services with them. The partnership just started, but we now started discussion with them. So I believe that we can provide a new experience.
Sachin, what seems next to be on your mind? Where do you see ORAN in the next few years, and what influences do you think ORAN in general will bring, for the next generation of communications beyond the RAN?
Yeah, so I'll answer that question in 2 parts, Stephen. So in the short to medium term, ORAN is going to see a lot of momentum around bringing cloud native and disaggregation technologies to the radio network, right? To really drive down CapEx, to bring new hardware architectures to drive automation. So I think what we are seeing with Dish, what we're seeing at NTT Docomo and several other operators around the world, really how do we bring to the cloud to the RAN, and how do we disaggregate the RAN as it is deployed today. In the medium to long term, what I'm really excited about is going from the network being a bit pipe to a programmable platform for applications. The promise of 5G is that applications can program the network and get the kind of connectivity they need for delivering the kind of delightful user experiences that consumers are expecting. How do we make that happen? That really will happen when there's an API between the network and the application, when the applications can actually request and program the kind of connectivity they need from the network. And that's really where I see this evolving. To kind of repeat a VMware theme, right now we are in the phase of modernization of the RAN. That's the cloud and disaggregation. And then the next big phase is the monetization, which is by exposing these APIs to applications, we can help monetize the network investments much better.
In a lot of ways, the programmability that you talk about is really letting the app define the network versus the network define the app. It's a very exciting proposition, and I hope to see it come to fruition soon. And in fact, I love hearing about these future visions from thought leaders like yourselves. So many exciting opportunities to look forward to. There's so much, just great innovation happening. Which takes me to my last question, which seems very appropriate after this discussion. Dr. Abeta, O-RAN is just a piece of the network transformation for NTT. Can you highlight some of the exciting advancements that you hope to make at the edge, and maybe give us a glimpse into what you see next for NTT?
We have the another activity, so-called the Open Partnership Program, 5G Open Partnership Program. That is just started February 2018. So now is more than 3,500 partners joined this program from a vertical industry, such as the information service, wholesale, manufacturing, media, construction, local government, transportation, medical, and so on. So many different industry joined this program. We are working with them, and to create a new service or to solve that social issues. And this is also the open program. And we work with them, and we work with our Open RAN ecosystem partners, and we provide the new open flex external network to provide the new services. So openness and open innovation is a key to create a new world. Thank you.
Thank you. Sachin, my last question is for you. These are pretty incredible next steps that Dr. Abeta just highlighted. What does, the NTT vision and strategy mean to the way Vmware will continue to support 5G and beyond?
Yeah, and I think I could not be more excited about the vision Dr. Abeta-san just highlighted, and to really emphasize how we would try and make it happen as fast as we can around openness, really kind of take a platform approach and make it as easy as possible, as delightful as possible for partners to come and deploy their applications, their network functions on top of the VMware platform and help them realize it in practice, right? So that would definitely be one dimension where we really want to take away a lot of the pain, a lot of the complexity, a lot of the challenges that both partners for applications and network functions, as well as operators, have to deal with today when they're deploying these networks. So that's one aspect around openness. Around the second one is really around the services. So VMware, obviously, one aspect that we really focused on is making it super easy to develop new services and to deploy, manage them, and make sure that you can deliver a great experience to consumers, but also partner with NTT in developing these new services, right? So VMware itself sells it by a lot of enterprise services, for example, SD-WAN and SASE, and so many other enterprise applications that people love from VMware. How do we supercharge them with 5G networks and partner with operators like NTT to really deliver it to the global enterprise?
It's an exciting proposition, and I'm excited to see it come full circle in our collaboration with NTT. I want to thank you both for being a part of our series and being on today's session. And I want to express thanks, and I also want to hope that we can connect again in the future and discuss this topic further, as well as many others. So thank you again for participating, and we do look forward to seeing you again.
Thank you very much, Stephen and Sachin.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you, Abeta-san.
Cheers.